watching Sun TV, broadcasting to the world from studios in Providenciales, in the beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands. Sun TV, your source for real news as it happens.
Several members of the People's Democratic Movement call on party leader Oswald Skippings to resign. Attorney General Hugh Shepherd comes under fire for his decision not to prosecute a man who police charged and a High Court judge remanded for possession of an AK-47. A major UK newspaper apologizes to Lord Michael Ashcroft over the printing of corruption allegations involving former TCI Premier Michael Missick. UK Minister Mark Simmons says delays to VAT would require changes to the existing law, but the governor still has the final say. These are the headlines. I'm Leslie Garland. Thank you for watching. An English newspaper which printed articles suggesting that Lord Ashcroft had corrupt links with former Premier of the Turks and Caicos Islands Michael Missick has been asked to make a public apology to Ashcroft in court. According to reports in the UK media, Lord Michael Ashcroft has received a public apology at the High Court over articles published in the independent newspaper concerning his business interests in the Turks and Caicos Islands. His QC told a judge in London that despite the disclaimer, quote, the articles published when read as a whole tended to link Lord Ashcroft's name with allegations of scandalous corruption, end quote. Giving the background to the libel action, Mark Warby, representing the Conservative pair, told Mr. Justice Eadie that the November 2009 articles referred to Michael Missick, the former Premier of the Turks and Caicos Islands, as a man widely alleged to have been involved in corrupt activity. Mr. Warby said, quote, Mr. Missick was said to have led a lavish lifestyle. The article stated that loans had been made to Mr. Missick by a local bank. The bank was described as Lord Ashcroft's Bank. End quote. The QC told the judge one article said, quote, there is no suggestion that Lord Ashcroft or his companies were connected in any way to the alleged bribery and corrupt property deals for which Mr. Missick is now being investigated. End quote. He added, however, the articles as a whole will have given at least some readers a very different impression. Both articles were published prominently. The first was a front-page splash and the second a two-page spread. Quote, independent news and media wishes to make absolutely clear that it has found no evidence whatsoever that Lord Ashcroft or his companies have in any way been involved with activities in the Turks and Caicos Islands concerning public politicians, public officials, or others which might be considered to represent bribery or indeed any other corrupt practice. End quote. With the apology and the other confidential terms agreed, Lord Ashcroft is prepared to let the matter rest. Julia Varley, appearing on behalf of independent news and media, told Mr. Justice Eadie that she accepted everything Mr. Warby had said and apologized to Lord Ashcroft for the embarrassment he has been caused by publication of the articles. Attorney General Hugh Shepherd is coming under fire for his decision not to proceed with criminal charges against a 25-year-old man who police arrested and charged for illegal possession of an AK-47, and who High Court Judge Mrs. Justice Joan Joyner remanded in custody until January 13, 2013. Several members of the media and the public have strongly criticized Shepherd for his unilateral decision, and there have even been calls for him to resign. Kevin Bingham was arrested on November 15, 2012 when police, acting on information received, executed a search warrant at his home and recovered an AK-47 assault rifle. He was subsequently charged with the unlawful possession of the firearm and appeared before Mrs. Justice Joan Joyner in the Supreme Court on November 20th when he was remanded. In a press release, the Attorney General said he examined the available evidence very carefully, and it seems that there is no dispute as to the essential facts, which are that Bingham and a friend visited the hole at Long Bay, Providenciales, on Sunday, November 11th, and while there, Bingham dived into the hole to recover a wallet dropped by his friend. He recovered the wallet and also discovered and recovered a corroded AK-47 assault rifle. According to the AG, the 25-year-old Bingham took the AK-47 home with him, intending to surrender it to the police, but not until he had obtained guidance from his parents, who were away from the TCI at the time. The police went to Bingham's home on the 15th of November, where he readily admitted possession of the weapon and handed it over to the officers. He was arrested, subsequently interviewed under caution, and charged. The Attorney General said that in deciding whether to exercise his power under Section 102C of the Constitution and bring to an end the proceedings against Kevin Bingham, he applied the standard two-stage test used by the Crown Prosecution Service in England and Wales and by most other prosecutors in the Commonwealth. 1. Is there sufficient credible evidence available to be reasonably certain of securing a conviction? And 2. Does the public interest require that this matter be prosecuted? Shepard said that from the brief details he already set out, it is apparent that there was sufficient credible evidence available to be reasonably certain of securing a conviction. As to whether the public's interest required that the matter be prosecuted, Shepard said that the evidence shows this was a chance finding and that the weapon was unusable as a firearm without some attention, but it was clearly an AK-47 and thus a modern weapon rather than an antique. The AG argued that Kevin Bingham did not conceal his recovery of the weapon at any stage and cooperated with the police. Nevertheless, the AG added, here was a young man who recovered a modern firearm from the sea and who should have realized that this should have been brought to the attention of the police at the earliest opportunity. Shepard said there is no evidence to suggest that there was ever any danger to the public at large, that Kevin Bingham retained possession of the AK-47 for any improper purpose, nor that he's in any way connected to persons who might wish to put the firearm to unlawful use. He said the evidence shows only that Kevin Bingham displayed a complete failure of judgment, but had no real criminal intention, adding that the charges and the changes to the firearms legislation in 2010 were not intended to inflict draconian punishment for such crassness. The AG ended his statement by saying that it follows that the public interest does not require a prosecution in that case. Any delay in the introduction of value-added tax in the Turks and Caicos Islands would require a change in legislation and the governor would have the final say. This was stated in the House of Commons on November 19th by Britain's Minister for Overseas Territories, Mark Simmons, who was asked if he will allow the government of the Turks and Caicos Islands to delay the implementation of VAT if it wishes to do so. Simmons replied, quote, the interim government in the Turks and Caicos Islands decided to introduce value-added tax. Consequently, the VAT bill was signed into law on the 18th of July 2012 and will come into force on the 1st of April 2013. Any delay would require a change in legislation. Before giving assent to such legislation, the governor would need to consider if it is consistent with the Constitution and the statement of governance principles in force. This requires the new Turks and Caicos Islands government to formulate and conduct macroeconomic and fiscal policy for the sustained long-term prosperity of the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands and to manage public funds according to established principles of value for money, affordability, and regularity, and in the interest of long-term financial stability. End quote. Earlier this month, Simmons told the House of Commons that the introduction of value-added tax is a decision for the Turks and Caicos Islands elected government. Both the Progressive National Party and the People's Democratic Movement have expressed their opposition to VAT. Even if the two parties were to join forces in the House of Assembly and seek to repeal the VAT bill, the governor still has reserve powers under the Constitution that can override that decision. Section 72 of the Constitution states, 1. If the governor considers that the enactment of legislation is necessary or desirable, A. For the purpose of securing compliance with an international obligation, B. To ensure compliance with the statement of governance principles for the time being in effect, C. To ensure that sufficient funds have been appropriated within 4 months of the commencement of each financial year for the effective operation of committees of the House of Assembly, the courts, the Attorney General's chambers, and each institution protecting good governance, or D. To give effect with or without modifications to the recommendations contained in a report of an electoral district boundary commission, but after consultation with the Premier, it appears to the governor that the Cabinet is unwilling to support the introduction into the House of Assembly of a bill for the purpose, or that the House is unlikely to pass a bill introduced into it for the purpose, the governor may, with the prior approval of a Secretary of State, cause a bill for the purpose to be published in the Gazette, and may, notwithstanding that the bill has not been passed by the House, assent it on behalf of Her Majesty. But the bill shall be so published for at least 21 days prior to assent, unless the governor certifies by writing under his or her hand that the matter is too urgent to permit such a delay in the giving of assent, and so informs a Secretary of State. Several prominent members of the People's Democratic Movement, including his deputy and opposition leader Charlene Cartwright Robinson, have reportedly asked PDM leader Oswald Skippings to resign his post. According to PDM sources, during a meeting held at the PDM headquarters on Friday night, Skippings refused to resign, which means that the party will have to hold a special convention to replace him. Sun TV understands that several persons at the meeting signed a petition calling for Skippings to resign. Even some persons who were once staunch supporters of the former chief minister were amongst those who asked for him to step down gracefully and make way for Charlene Cartwright Robinson to be the new leader. Skippings, who was elected PDM leader in June of this year, was apparently criticized for his leadership style, which many PDM supporters felt was responsible for the party losing the November 9th general elections to the Progressive National Party 8 seats to 7. The PDM leader placed 7th amongst the 11 at-large candidates. That's our Sun TV news package for today, Monday, November 26th. Until next time, when we bring you more real news as it happens, directly to your computer, your mobile phone, or your tablet. Until next time, I'm Leslie Garland. Thanks for watching. We leave you now with some footage from the Conch Festival 2012.